Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. Today I'm looking at Accurascale's latest diesel. Today's model was first released by Hattons about 5 years ago in 2019. And most people agreed that these models looked fantastic, and indeed the level of detail was absolutely mind-blowing. However, there were lots of reports of quality problems on these models. The rotating axle boxes dropping out, that was a big one, but there were other quality issues mentioned as well. Well, fast forward 5 years to 2024, Hattons are obviously sadly out of the picture now, and the Class 66 tooling is now owned by Accurascale, and they've spent the last year or two making modifications to the tooling to bring it some quality of life improvements. And now the model has been released. So today's review is of the new and improved Accurascale Class 66. Now I did review the Hattons Class 66 back in 2019, and I'll have to say my experience of it was pretty good. I didn't really experience any quality issues with it, except for the rotating axle boxes dropping out. I did experience that. However, I did not purchase that model. It was very kindly loaned to me by Hattons so that I could review it. Now, realistically, Hattons will have known that thousands of people would have seen that video, and most likely they would not have sent out a model to me that had quality problems. I expect they would have checked the model to make sure that it was fine, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I think I would have done the same thing if I was sending out a model to be reviewed. However, reviews made like that are not necessarily a reflection of your typical customer's experiences. And that's why today I choose to refuse most freebies that are offered to me, and that's why I don't review models unless I've paid for them and purchased them myself. And that's because I want my reviews to be a reflection of your typical customer experience. So for today's review, I have purchased this model myself. It came from a retailer, Derails Models, I believe, and I'm really interested to see what this is like. Hopefully the quality will be good, and I'm also interested to see the quality of life improvements that this has received. In terms of the price, these cost £169.99, and that's it. The model is the same price regardless of whether you choose to support a retailer or whether you choose to buy direct from Accurascale, which I think is a good thing. And if you're interested in picking one of these up, I do have affiliate links down in the description. Now this is technically more expensive than the model was when it was released by Hattons. The price for these used to be £150. But of course that was in 2019 and there has been some inflation since then. And so if we adjust the new price for inflation, it's actually around £15 cheaper than it used to be. So again, great work from Accurascale, making this even less expensive than it was. But enough waffle about this, let's see what this is like. The new Accurascale Class 66, let's take a look at the improvements. So it's been quite a while since we've seen one of these massive Accurascale boxes, but I do believe that high quality packaging is part of the secret to delivering models that are not faulty. And it looks like Accurascale also subscribe to that view. I mean, this is a massive and very, very heavy box. Let me show you the end of the box then. So the version I've gone for is the Class 66 locomotive number 66763. It's Severn Valley Railway, ACC 2636, and it's in the GBRF blue and orange. That does seem to be one of the more popular ones, and it's era 10 to 11. And really that is all the box tells us. For more information, I'm going to have to delve inside. So let's do that. We do have a sleeve over the outer box, which I suppose it protects the artwork and also stops the box from opening, which is good. And here it is. Let's open this up. Take our first look, see what greets us. All right, so tons of foam. Yeah, like I say, the quality of the packaging is very high. And this foam's thick as well. Look at the thickness of that. Nice. Okay. Well, a massive wad of instructions. Yeah, I've not reviewed anything from Accurascale for a while, so it's been a while since I've seen this kind of treatment. Okay, this looks scary. You must read the instructions on the reverse of this card before operating your model. Okay, And this is just saying that if you're running this on analog, you need a reasonably modern controller. I suppose that's just to cover themselves against the old janky controllers that might blow up a modern loco. Now, I've got a second one of these. Is this just for emphasis? No, this is just showing how you should set up the switches depending on how you're operating the loco. It says on the front of this card that you must read these instructions before operating the model, so is this mission critical? Are the lights going to be damaged if you don't adhere to this? I don't know, but I would recommend following that, of course. Okay, we've got another bag here with what I assume is the instructions in, so let's take a look at that. Alright, so I like this a lot. We've got a beautiful photo of the real Class 66, a little bit about unpacking, safe operation, intended use, that's all fine. This is just basic stuff, I think, wheel cleaning. Now here we go, look at this, it's like a poster quality instruction manual. You could display this up on the wall. So, as we already knew, the Class 66 here is an insanely complex model, and you can see all of the different parts fitted to this. You can also get a sense of the mechanism. We've got a massive motor in the centre there, 2 chunky flywheels fitted to that, and then it's got your all-wheel drive and your all-wheel pickup. More on the mechanism later on. Bit of a body removal guide here. No screws holding the body on, unfortunately. It is held on with these clips, which is a bit strange, I think, given how heavy we know this loco is, but hopefully that will be nice and secure. And then on the back, we've got a little bit about lubrication. Yeah, it lets you know where to lubricate. A few bits of other information on here, including where to fit some of the detail accessories. And also, if you want to pick up a driver or some crew, this shows you how to get access to the cab so that you can fit those. So that seems to be a relatively all-encompassing instruction manual. So what is this? We've got a locomotive operator's manual here. What's in here then? Okay, so general information. We've got a history here. Class 66, an overview. Look at this. So it's not just the odd paragraph pasted onto the back of a box. This is like a proper history and background of the Class 66, and look how extensive this is. Yeah, so I don't believe this is about the model. This is literally about the real thing, and then at the back here we've got some of the models that are available from Accurascale. I love that, and I know a lot of people will really appreciate having all of that information to go with the model. I'm sorry this is taking so long to get to the model, but I don't want to overlook this. And then very, very quickly, just some of the functions if you should get a DCC or sound-fitted version of the model. And at long last, there it is inside the box. What a livery this is as well. Yeah, it's very, very orange looking, isn't it? Yeah, I don't believe I have anything in this livery, at least not much anyway. So let's pull this out. It is nestled between an awful lot of foam. Look how thick that is. So you know this is well protected. And let's see exactly what you get. I can spy the accessories pack in the top here. So let's start with that. I say pack, I think there's a couple. Yep, there is. Okay, so first things first, etched nameplates. And look at the quality of this. This is not a plastic part that's been printed on. You can tell that that's a metal part that's been etched. Wow, that looks really, really high quality. I like that a lot. So yes, etched nameplates, awesome. Then we've got some accessories here. Look at this, entire buffer beams complete with sprung buffers. I assume that's because the buffer beams fitted to the model probably have the openings in them where the NEM couplings can poke through. Obviously that's not dreadfully realistic, so if you take issue with that and you don't want to use the NEM couplings, these buffer beams are going to look more realistic for you. And they've got full detail fitted to them too, by the looks of it. You've also got pipework and such for you to fit to the existing buffer beams, presumably, as well as proper movable screw-link couplings. Wow, what a provision that is. So this model comes with 8 sprung buffers. Well, that's a way to get a good score in a Sam's Trains review, isn't it? Okay, well, let's have a look. What's the finish like? I remember the paintwork being excellent on the Hattons examples, so unless something's changed, well, I'm hoping for the same thing here. Ooh, there it is. Look at that. So, I mean, I'm supposed to be talking about the decoration, but it's really the complexity here that's impressive. Obviously, you've got the exhaust system here and what look like etched grills on the roof there too. Yeah, looks impressive. Right, let's lift this up. And yes, I have been working out for the past week. and that is necessary if you're going to buy the Class 66, because it is insanely heavy. I don't believe I had my scales when I reviewed the Hattons one, so that one was not on my list of loco weights. Obviously, now I do have my scales, I expect this to rank pretty close to the top. But yeah, this thing is awesome. And there's so much to take in that it is going to take a long time to sort of go over the level of detail. But from a cursory glance, I can say this looks beautifully painted. Yeah, the decoration's top notch. Clearly, there's an awful lot of detail here. And I have to say, I'm not seeing any quality issues so far. All of the axle boxes appear to be in situ, which is good. I can't see any glue. I can't see any wonky parts, which is a very good start for a model that didn't cost that much and is also exceedingly complex. So much more information in just a second on this, but for now, here's a bit of background on the Class 66 in real life. During the mid-1990s, the ageing fleet of British diesels was in desperate need of updating. And so the EWS placed what would be the largest order of British loco since the steam era. The Class 66 was produced in Canada and was first shipped to Britain in 1998, and it quickly proved to be a solid and reliable design. The class was based on the earlier Class 59, as you can tell because it looks very similar, and the 59 itself was known for its reliability. Initially classified as the Class 61, the 66s replaced many older diesel designs, making them instrumental really in the modernisation of British diesels. But this has also made them somewhat unpopular among some classic diesel enthusiasts, since the 66 is often blamed for the demise of earlier diesel designs. 455 66s were produced over nearly 20 years, the last one being in 2015. So there it is, up close and personal for you, the Accurascale Class 66. And this model blew my mind back in 2019 when I first saw it. And I have to say, looking at this now, it's having exactly the same effect. Not only is this an insanely complex model with about 1 billion separately fitted parts, seriously, genuinely, it is just bonkers, but it's also been assembled to an incredibly high standard. I have not seen a single glue mark, I have not seen a single detail out of place. Considering how much there is to this model, that is nothing short of miraculous. And as we look over the model together, I invite you to look out for anything like that. I mean, the close-ups I film are cruel. Let me know in the comments if you spot anything. I want to start this section with a bit of an apology, because I can't bring you my usual cool spinning shot of this loco, because if I put this on my turntable, it would break it. That's because it weighs an insane amount. So it comes in at 706 grams, which makes this my second heaviest diesel on record. So it's heavier than Accurascale's Class 37, which was extremely heavy. It's heavier even than their Class 92 electric. This is second only to the Accurascale Class 55 Deltic, which was heavier than this. But still, over 700 grams, that is absolutely bonkers. So let's start by taking a look at the decoration. As you can see, this is not a simple livery to pull off, yet it has been executed to the highest possible standard. Look at all the different colours used here. The joins between the different colours are absolutely perfect. Even the GBRF lettering on this uneven surface have come out perfect. It really does look great. The Severn Valley Railway nameplate doesn't look that great on here, because obviously it's conforming to the corrugated texture of the body here, which it shouldn't do. But Accurascale have solved this problem by providing those high quality etched nameplates, and I think those are going to be a must really. We've got tiny little prints on the doors, look at that, I can see a warning sign, different text. There's loads of this stuff, look at all of the tiny little prints. Far too small to look at with the naked eye, yet they look amazing. What's this little grill here? I can't even focus on it, yet I can see through the camera the tiny little lines on there. It's just insane. We've got text on the chassis, as you can see, gauges on the underframe, all sorts of different symbols and warning signs. Yeah, everywhere you look there are decoration effects. This thing is just crazy. Here's a look at the windows and the window frames. They've absolutely nailed these window frames. And here's the end of the model. There's lots of decoration here, all of it executed perfectly. Let's move on and look at the bogies. These are also insanely complex. So there's tons of molded detail, as you can see, but there's lots of separate detail as well, including the rotating axle boxes, which are separately fitted and will turn as the model runs. Hopefully they'll stay in place now. We've got various different pipework fitted to these, steps which are also picked out and painted. Absolutely tons of detail on these bogies. The lower body of the loco is insanely complex as well, because much of this wiring is separately fitted. Some of it is moulded and set further back, but because some of it is also separately fitted, you get this tremendous sense of depth and detail that you rarely see in model form. And that's why the Class 66 is just such a good choice to model, because it's got this complexity which looks so good. So yeah, the lower body of the loco is just incredible. The upper body is very impressive indeed as well, because each grille is a separately fitted etched piece, and they are very, very precisely fitted as well, which I like to see. And you can even see that there's detail behind this one. It's a little bit tricky because the mesh of the grille is so fine, but yeah, if you catch it from the right angle, you can actually see detail behind there, which is great. The doors have separately fitted wire handrails beside them, and there's 3 doors on this side, as you can see. So there's quite a few handrails involved. Here's a look at the buffer beams. The buffer beams fitted to the model are quite basic, but obviously if you want to, you can fit the pipework and the screw-link couplings to these. And if you don't like the slightly unrealistic NEM couplings poking through, I say slightly unrealistic, very unrealistic, obviously you've got an alternative buffer beam that you can fit, which makes the ends completely realistic. Obviously though, I'm going to stick with these NEMs, and these are kinematic, and they're nice and smooth, free to move there, so I'm pretty sure they're going to be fine. The buffers themselves are made of metal and they are sprung. Not a big surprise, but there it is nonetheless. We've got full lighting on the model as you'd expect, and we'll see this work in just a second. Lamp iron separately fitted, and it's a very detailed lamp iron as well. Lovely glazing all around the cab, and we do have separate wipers fitted. Look how fine those are, they look great. And there's even another etched grille up on the front there with detail behind that too. This is very, very awesome. The cab interiors are fantastic as well. As you can see, we've got full detail here around the console. I believe this is just a sticker, which is a pity, I suppose. But then again, it does mean that there's a lot of detail here, and not all of the detail is achieved with stickers. You can see there are some physical details here. And the back wall of the cab is very detailed as well. Yeah, these are very, very impressive cabs, and of course there is cab lighting featured on these models as well. So while the loco's parked up, you can switch those on and they will illuminate this fantastic detail, which is great. Up on the roof, here's another look at that etched grille up on top. Yeah, very, very neatly fitted. I like that a lot. Tons of other details, of course, up on the roof. I'm obviously not able to go over all of this, but hopefully you can get a sense of the detail here. And also we've got this very detailed exhaust section here, which is painted into multiple different colours, and the moulding quality here, just like everywhere else on the model really, is absolutely top notch. So there you have it, that is a close look at this loco. There's absolutely no doubt that I've missed some features because there is just so much here. I mean, look at these little steps underneath the centre door here. Very, very fine separate part, but all painted and nicely finished. Yeah, there's just a lot to see here, and I could probably talk for twice as long about the different details that this has got, but hopefully this gives you a good sense of what the model's like, and hopefully you could tell while I was showing you the close-ups just how high the build quality of this model is. Obviously, there's a lot of tiny parts here. It is quite a fragile model. You have got to be quite careful with how you handle it, but I have been handling this model quite extensively today. I've not had anything buckle, break, or drop off it, which is a really good sign of quality. So let's get this down onto the track. Let's give it its first run. Let's take a look at the mechanism and check that this model is as exquisite on the inside as it is on the outside. So there she is, the new 66 down onto the track, and what a beast this model really is. I've already filmed the initial test and running in, and I'll feed back on that in just a second. After that, I took a look at the mechanism, and that's what I want to talk about first. So the good news is that the rotating axle boxes did stay in place while I ran this loco in. So as far as I'm concerned, that issue is now solved, which is great to see, at least on my example. So Accurascale have obviously either tightened the tolerance of those axle boxes or possibly glued them in place. The bad news is, though, I'm pretty sure these axle boxes have to be removed in order for you to remove the base keeper plate to access the gear train or the pickups in order to lubricate and clean those respectively. And because the axle boxes are fine and they're not dropping out, I've decided to leave them that way, at least while I filmed this review. I'm concerned that if I pull those out in order to pop the base off, they're not going to stay there when I put them back on, and that would be bad. Also, the base keepers are not screwed on, they are just clipped on, which I don't really like either. So as much as the rotating axle boxes are a cool feature, and they're a feature that stay put now, the serviceability of the model has taken a hit as a result of that. So it is going to be an impractical headache to clean the pickups on this one. It does, however, have all-wheel drive, so all wheels have gears to them. It has all-wheel pickup, and you can just about see the wiper pickups touching each of the wheels here. And I can also say that it does have proper separate bearings. I can see them on the ends of the axles, and they're shown on the instructions as well. Apologies for not dismantling the bogies any further than that. In terms of body removal, though, this actually isn't too bad. The body is just clipped on rather than screwed on, which I don't like too much, but it is a good secure fit, and you can get it off using the glue spreader method without too much trouble. The body comes off nice and easily, and there's even pogo pins which connect the cab lights and the upper headlights so that you've got no wires in the way, so this is absolutely awesome. However, this is not a necessary process if all you want to do is access the DCC socket, because one of the modifications Accurascale have made to this model is the addition of this access hatch in the top of the loco. So you can pop this off and it's held on with magnets, and as easy as that, you've got access to the 21-pin DCC decoder socket. So that is fantastic. It's a little bit fiddly to get the body off, but you needn't even do that, so that's awesome. With the body off, though, you can see this does have a heavy die-cast chassis, and of course it does, it weighs over 700 grams. There is a 5-pole motor buried in here, and if we look in the end, you can see one of the two gigantic flywheels in this model, and they really are massive, and the way the model performs is so incredibly smooth. You can see we've got the lights on the front here. Behind this panel are the lower LEDs, so you've got the white headlights and the red tail lights. And there's even a bank of capacitors on board which will smoothen out the lighting so that they don't flicker if there's a brief interruption to power. Here is the 21-pin DCC socket, and this does have switches on the blanking plate which allows you a bit of customization on the lighting, and you can also see the switches on the main circuit board as well. Unfortunately, there is no factory fitted speaker on this one, at least not the massive bass speaker that the sound fitted ones come with. I think that's a pity. Obviously, if you wanted to chip this with sound, it would be more convenient if the speakers were fitted, but I'm perfectly happy to see no speaker fitted if that's reflected in the model's price. And at £169.99, that's very much the case, so not a big complaint there. And then the gauge is absolutely fine. It's gauged at 14.3mm back to back pretty reliably, which is also great. So serviceability to some extent is a little bit limited and impractical, but apart from that, the quality of the mechanism is incredible. And that does show through in the performance. So with that, let's jump back in time and let me show you how that went. Right, time to see if this loco can walk the walk, as it were. So, a little bit of juice, let's see if this actually works. Oh yep, there it goes. I tell you what, I was a little bit worried there because I turned the controller up and heard no sound. But turns out that's just because the loco is silent and not because it was dead, so that's really good. Gosh, how quiet that is. There is just no noise coming from this whatsoever. Let me drive it past and be quiet. Ready? Crikey, I mean, you can hear the wheels clattering over the joints, but there's no motor noise from this whatsoever. Wow, outstanding. Let's take a look at the lighting. So in forwards direction, there's some pretty cool white LEDs on there. Very kind of blue colour to those. And then in the opposite direction, we've got the red tail lights. So they work on analog. On analog, I'm not seeing any cab lights turning on, which is prototypical because you wouldn't have cab lights on during operation. So that's not an issue. But obviously those are there for you to control on digital if you want to. Right, let's take a look at the speed and gearing then. So I'll back this up and drive past at 50% speed. So let's see what that's like. Yeah, all right, I'd say that's fairly slow and controlled. Has it got the higher speeds there if it wants? Oh yeah, and finally we start to hear some noise. So yeah, it's got some grunt to it. It can go fast if it wants to, but as a freight loco, this is certainly capable of some decent freight speeds, which is great. Now, obviously, I am going to run this in fully before I cast any final judgment on it, but out of the box, let's do a few tests. Let's see what the torque is like. So fingers in front of the buffers. Has this got some power to it? 50%. Oof. Yeah, I can really feel it pushing, and you can see that the wheels are turning because we've got the axle boxes rotating. And while we're on that subject, yeah, there's a look at the axle boxes. Pretty nice feature. Hopefully they stay in place. So yeah, tons and tons of torque, an incredibly heavy loco, one of the heaviest I've got, and it's able to turn its wheels under an obstruction like that. That is pretty impressive. Okay, let's have a look and see what the crawl is like then. Ready? Let's see what this can do. Obviously, this might be better once running, but we shall see. Turning it up very slowly. Still turning it up. Oh, there we go. I think it needs a bit more. Maybe a bit more. It's inching forwards very slowly, but then kind of stopping. Yeah, there we go. So it's not dreadfully smooth. It seems to be cogging a little bit, but it is very, very slow, which is good. Let's keep inching it up a little bit. Okay, and then when it gets to here, it's smooth. So I think that could be better. There isn't a great deal of control down at the low end, which is understandable. You know, it's not that easy to make such a heavy loco crawl well, but I have seen it before from Accurascale, in fact. So all being well, this will improve once the locos run in, but yeah, at other speeds like this, it does seem to be amazingly smooth. Let's see if we've got some flywheel action to it. I'll cut it off in front of you. Ready? Oh yeah, nice smooth stop there. Excellent. So there we have it, an absolutely gorgeous performer. Some room for improvement, I think. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, let's run this in and see how it gets on around the layout. Here we go, 50% speed. Okay, here she goes, first lap. This is the broadest of my curves, no issues. Here's the second radius. Oh, look at that. So, an incredibly heavy loco, traversing pretty tight second radius curves without even remotely slowing down. How impressive is that? So the performance looks excellent. Really powerful, incredibly smooth and silent. For £170, this is seriously impressive. Oh, what a fantastic performer. You see, this is why I always loved the Hattons Class 66. And this is why it was such a pity when people got them home and had problems with them, because it really spoiled the experience, I think. With this release though, I've got to say I've seen zero problems with this, which is amazing because of course it means people can now enjoy what is an absolutely fantastic model. So great work from Accurascale. They've taken what was already an epic model and made it even better. And the way this looks and runs really is second to none. So yeah, fantastic work. I am going to run this in fully then, and then we'll come back, we'll do some more testing, and then of course I'll couple it up to something. But yeah, this one really is shaping up well. What a fantastic piece of work. So I'll see you in just a second. Don't go anywhere. Okay, I am back, and what do you notice? Well, you might not be able to notice it, but I have noticed all of the axle boxes are still in place. All 12 of them, they're still here, which is great. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Accurascale have fixed that problem, which is awesome. Also, no problems at all with performance. It stayed on the track. I never saw it falter or slow down or derail, anything like that. It seems to be really rock solid, which is awesome. Let's have another look at the performance then, and yeah, this one's just so much fun to run. It's just so smooth. The crawl might not have been the best, and we're about to see whether that's any better now, but the performance otherwise is just delightful. I think you just get a real sense of weight with this loco, certainly because it really is heavy, but also because of those flywheels. It seems to take a little bit of effort to speed it up. It's not like one of those locos where you just hit it with power and suddenly it goes. There is a little bit of an acceleration to this, and that's because it does take a second or two to put that inertia into those massive flywheels. And obviously, because of the size and weight of the thing, it's not the easiest thing to accelerate either. So yeah, you get this really realistic sense of mass to the thing, which is awesome. Okay, torque still good. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. Turning its wheels so easily with my finger there. So that's brilliant. What is the crawl like then? Go on. Is this any better now that the loco is fully running? Here it goes, turning this up. Okay, so it is slow, but it's coggy. So unfortunately, at least on analog, perhaps on digital, it'll be better. It's not a crawler, and I've turned it up now, and that is about the speed at which it becomes reliable. Let's see if the same is true in the opposite direction. Here we go. Yeah, a little bit jerky there. And I suppose that is the downside to having such a lot of weight on board and to having such large flywheels too. But yeah, again, speed it up, it becomes smooth. I mean, it's not a bad performer by any means, but if you like your crawls, I suppose that's something to bear in mind. Otherwise though, yeah, a beautiful performer. And the pulling power is unreal. It's almost broken my Newton meter. Actually, I had to swap it for the one that does the higher readings. So 1.3 newtons is the tractive effort, which should allow this to haul about 70 coaches on straight and level track. So whatever you throw at this thing, it's going to handle it. And we saw by the way it turned its wheels, even under an obstruction, it's not going to struggle with that at all. So with that, I've set up some open wagons here. It's going to make mincemeat of them, but let's go and couple and see how it behaves with a load. So here we go. Let's try and do this smoothly. Okay, let's see how smoothly I can do this. I mean, I suppose because the loco decelerates so smoothly, if you got really good at it, you could probably get it to just kind of decelerate and stop just in the right place. Having said that, what I did there certainly wasn't bad. And it has indeed coupled first time, so the coupling's absolutely spot on. Okay, with that, let's get started. Let's go for about 45. I think that looks pretty good. And as you can see, hauling these wagons as though they're not there at all. Alright, and we're having a bit of a Class 66 fest today, so alongside the Accurascale one, we have the Bachmann 66, which is okay, but nowhere near as detailed or as effective looking. And that's hauling some mega boxes, my largest open wagons, I believe. And then on the inside line, we have the appalling Hornby Class 66, which for me has no redeeming features apart from its price. So if all you care about is cheap models, then this is probably the one to go for. If you care about anything else, then for me at least, this is not one worth looking at. But with that, let's check in with the Accurascale, see how it's getting on with its load. Alright, still looking lively with its wagons. Yeah, handling the second radius, no problems whatsoever. So this loco really is firing on all cylinders. Every aspect of this is awesome. And the great thing is, it's so good that you don't need me to tell you that. You know, I've provided you with the footage, it's all high quality, it's there, clear to see. It's obvious how fantastic this model is. It really is that good. Now, it is a bit frustrating that this model is not more serviceable, and that's very true. However, I think the rotating axle boxes is a really important feature to see. And I think that's because generally diesels do tend to be a little bit less interesting than steam locos visually. And that's because there's just less motion involved. They don't have coupling rods usually, they don't have valve gear. But seeing those 12 axle boxes twirling round as the loco runs really helps to add a little bit more motion to the model, and it brings some of that interest back. And at the very least, you can't deny that it's a nice realistic feature, even if you are less easily entertained than I am. So I'm glad it's there. It's a really cool feature, and the fact that it works so well now is great too. It's also clear that upgrades have been made to this model. I hear that it is now more realistic than before. Obviously, I'm not that qualified to speak on that, but that is what I've heard. What I can comment on though is the quality. We've seen the axle boxes staying in place. We've seen the build quality and the way in which this has been assembled, absolutely top notch. And modifications to the cab interior look a lot better. The way that you can open up the roof now to get easier access to the DCC socket, that is just way better now. That solves one pretty irritating problem. Yeah, it's just really spot on. So, as you can tell, quite impressed, I think it's fair to say, by the Accurascale Class 66. Certainly the best model I've looked at this year, I reckon. Let's have some ratings then for the new Accurascale Class 66. And what can I say about this? It's quite hard actually to put all this into words. I think this is possibly the finest model that I've ever looked at. And that is obviously my opinion. You may disagree. Maybe you've got issues with accuracy that I've not noticed or picked up on. But for me, this is absolutely everything that a model should be. The level of detail is an easy 5-star. It is just crazy. The underframe, the bogies, the cabs, the grills, the fantastic looking etched nameplates, the decoration, it all just comes together here and I cannot fault it. So an easy 5-star. The performance is absolutely fantastic. It is smooth, it's silent, there's tons of torque, and it handles curves even with a load without slowing down. Brilliant performer. However, it's not the best at the crawl. Maybe you don't care too much about the crawl. Personally, I prefer locos to be able to crawl excellently. It's got a pair of massive flywheels coupled directly to the motor. It's an incredibly heavy model as well. So yeah, you can understand that there is a bit of a torque problem at the very lowest speeds, but that's all I would criticize on the performance. Everything else is perfect, including the couplings. The pulling power, thanks to its enormous weight of 706 grams, is 1.3 newtons. That should allow this to haul around 70 coaches on straight and level track, and it does that without rubber traction tyres. How awesome is that? And it's got torque to match that as well, which is great. The mechanism for me is a 4-star. The mechanism itself is very high quality, so we've got all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, proper bearings on the driving axles, a really large quality motor with dual flywheels, and a very competent chassis design. The reason it doesn't get 5-star is because it's not that serviceable. It is a bit of a headache to access the axles and pickups and such for cleaning and maintenance. If they could have found a way to make this a little bit more convenient, then it would be a 5. Otherwise though, it's great, and accessing the DCC socket is a convenient process because of that handy hatch in the roof of the loco, so that's not an issue. The quality then is 5-star. Obviously there's a lot of metalwork on board because of how heavy this is, but also the build quality is second to none as well. All of those parts perfectly fitted. I didn't see any glue. I didn't see any issues in the decoration either. Everything's nice and straight. We've got etched grills, a quality mechanism. I can't fault it. If you can think of a way to fault this, please do comment down below and let me know, because I'm coming up with nothing. And finally, value for money. For £169.99, this is absolutely insane. There are plenty of models out there far more expensive than this, which are far poorer quality, they have far fewer features, and they run far less impressively than this. For just £169.99, this is a bargain. And like I say, if you do the maths, if you work this out, this is actually £15 cheaper or thereabouts than the Hattons Class 66 when that released in 2019. So a fantastic price indeed. So overall that is 9.43 out of 10. That's a ridiculously high score, but I'm sticking with it. The loco deserves it. That's a grade of A, the highest I can give. Excellent work. And into the logbook we go, and it is top place where it belongs, above the Rapido J70. Yeah, lost for words. What a great quality loco that looks incredible as well. I can't recommend this highly enough. Well folks, there you have it, and what a model, what a model. It started life as a great model, riddled with a few issues, and now it's finished up as a fantastic model with those issues very effectively solved. So it's a happy ending for this Class 66, and I'm really glad to see it too. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please do comment down below and let me know what you think about this model. Are you considering getting one? Have you got one already? If you have one of the Hattons 66s, have you noticed any other differences that I haven't mentioned today? That would be interesting to know. But if you are interested in getting one of these, I do have affiliate links down in the description, so if you fancy one, check those out. For now though, thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Alright, cheers folks, you take care.